It all started with one father, one diagnosis, and one mission to help his daughter heal. What began as a personal journey is now a nationwide movement to support families facing cystic fibrosis. Let's go on the record.
From WPBF 25, this is On the Record with Todd McDermott.
Good morning. When a Palm Beach County man found out his young daughter had cystic fibrosis, his whole world changed. And so did the purpose of his life, his mission to help his daughter heal, now a powerful movement that supports other families all over the country facing a CF diagnosis. Travis Suit, thanks for joining us today. Glad to have you here.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here.
Well, let's take us back to the moment when your daughter Piper was first diagnosed with cystic fibrosis. What goes through your mind as a father at that time?
Yeah, it's pretty heavy. And, you know, when you have a really sick child, there's almost nothing else that matters. It really consumes you. And so on one hand, it alleviated a lot of stress to know what she was facing with the diagnosis. But on the other hand, it brought about a whole nother world of unknowns. And it was quite a roller coaster of emotion.
How did that diagnosis change your outlook on life altogether?
Well, living and supporting somebody with a chronic or rare disease, it definitely shows you that, one, the people who show up in your life, especially when you're in the hospital or when you're going through adversity, the people who show up are the only people who matter. And two, presence and living every day and recognizing the fragility of our health and how important it is to be healthy, to stay healthy, to cherish the breath that we get to breathe every day. You know, it just brings you into a different posture towards reality that for me has ultimately been a great gift.
Let's talk about Piper. I know the ocean has became therapy for Piper, and it's a big part of the foundation. How did that connection start?
Well, it really began in Australia with a couple surfers who were coming to their doctor, their CF clinic, and they were having much better lung function results, reduced hospitalizations, and that discovery in Australia led to a research study and ultimately to a inhaled saline solution that almost all CF patients around the world breathe in as a daily treatment, which is salt water, sodium chloride. And the sodium chloride, when it is breathed into the lungs, it helps to break down the sticky mucus that causes the congestion and the lung infections for somebody with CF, and it provides better airway clearance. And so for someone with CF, the ocean is actually the best healing natural therapeutic environment that they could be in. And when your child's future is cast into uncertainty, to be given this opportunity that you're going to the beach, taking them out on the water, teaching them to surf or paddle, taking them out on a boat, just being in that salt environment like we have access to here in Florida, if that's the best natural therapy for them, it's quite a miracle to have that.
There must have been so many discoveries. What did you find out? When did you realize that your personal journey dealing with cystic fibrosis could help families everywhere?
Well, when you start to recognize that in a rare disease community, there just aren't that many people asking difficult questions or asking really questions at all. And I just have a very curious mind, and it became really clear really quickly that for 70 years, all the fundraising and research has gone to a cure. And that's amazing because the drug therapies have come a long way in first world countries. But if you take a child that would have died in their infancy in the 70s, and now they're living to be into their 20s, 30s, 40s, or beyond, the question becomes, what's the cost of buying more time? And when you live longer with a progressive disease like cystic fibrosis, the burden becomes even more compounded. And I was seeing that, and I couldn't believe that there just wasn't more support day in and day out for these families. And the entrepreneurial spirit in me couldn't find really meaning in a lot of what I had been doing before. And I was trying to understand how I could serve and to be the best dad. And you know, I didn't even realize what being an advocate meant at the time, but now I understand. It's to give these families a voice, to fight, to be in their corner, and to make sure that these questions that are very important get answered, asked, and solutions are provided.
Now, you formed this foundation, Piper's Angels Foundation. I want to jump right into talking about the crossing for cystic fibrosis, what that is and how it happened. It is a paddling journey from Bimini here to our shores. What is it like? What does it do?
Well, the crossing in 2013, the first year we did it, there were just 4 of us paddlers in 2 boats, and it was really my personal coping mechanism. I wanted to do something big for Piper. I wanted to show her that she could define her life with this disease. I wanted to create awareness and raise money, and that's where it began. I could not have imagined it turning into such a monumental event, you know, people traveling from all over the world coming in for it. The crossing is such a unique experience because it takes people through the entire spectrum of human emotion or consciousness, from fear and intimidation of leaving Bimini in the Bahamas in the dark and paddling out into a dark ocean, to, you know, the incredible experience of being humbled by being so small out in the middle of the Gulf Stream and the sun rising and having that hope. But paddling 80 miles from the Bahamas to Florida, whether you do it as a relay or you paddle solo, it's a crucible. It is a daunting task. And every person that shows up to do this event, they have to step into courage and daring in a pretty big way to make it happen. And it's really, it's a journey that is very transformative for people. And we're really honored that people show up each year. And this community of the crossing, the captains, the crew, the hundreds of volunteers, the paddlers, they are what's built Piper's Angels Foundation into one of the most impactful grassroots organizations in the world for cystic fibrosis.
All right, I have to leave it there because we have some other people with Travis, who work with you with the Piper's Angels Foundation that we need to talk about. But again, Travis Suit, thank you for starting Piper's Angels Foundation, and thank you for sharing your story with us today.
Thank you. Really appreciate it.
Next, we're going to hear from another key player with the foundation, how cystic fibrosis is also personal for her, and the way it powered her work and her own journey during that crossing. That's when On the Record returns.
You're watching On the Record on WPBF 25.
Welcome back. Joining me now is Tatiana Timms, Director of Communications and Partnerships for the Piper's Angels Foundation. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Let's first just start by talking about the personal connection you have with cystic fibrosis.
So cystic fibrosis affects my family. My husband, his younger sister was born with cystic fibrosis, was diagnosed at 6 months, and made it to 29 years. She passed away just recently this past October, the day before my son was born, her godson. So it's been quite new and fresh for us, but they have forever been advocates ever since she was born. I think it's probably very typical for a person when a child is born to look around them and try to figure out what to do and look into that disease. So Megan was born and there wasn't Google back then, so my mother-in-law Denise looked around and said, what can I do? And she essentially started doing walks for the CF Foundation, the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation, and then met Travis through those walks when Travis had Piper and Piper was diagnosed with cystic fibrosis. It's a small rare disease community, so when you have CF and you live locally here, you go to the CF walks, you meet everyone else who's a part of the cystic fibrosis community.
Now, there must be some benefit in having that connection. I'm sure you carry this with you all the time in your work.
Right.
But the community is tight, it's connected.
It's connected. What's interesting about this community and what COVID brought to light is that social distancing has its, has its world, and the CF community lives in that social distancing world. They actually aren't supposed to be around each other. They can cross-contaminate, and actually it could be quite vital and deadly to them. So they're a more virtual community than anything else. So those walks consist of more family members, and people who have CF know about each other, and they stay a distance from each other.
How does your personal connection, you think, influence your approach to your work with Piper's Angels?
So it makes all the difference in the world because you see the direct impact that it's having. I saw it within my family itself. I saw Piper's Angels step in and make a difference in our own lives, and now I see it directly working with the foundation behind the scenes every day with the families and the communities that we affect. And it's making a positive impact every day through the events that we produce. The Crossing for Cystic Fibrosis is a huge undertaking. It's a year-long event that we plan to hopefully raise awareness and funds for the cystic fibrosis community.
We have a lot to talk about when it comes to that. Now, before I get specifically into that one, you do have a lot of events through the year. I know you don't have a giant team. What does it take to put on these events within the foundation?
It takes an army of angels, and that's what we like to call those volunteers that support us year-round. We have some lead volunteers that are always around with us. We couldn't do it without them. And then we have those supporters that come throughout the year that stop in and support us, whether they donate with their time, energy, funds. Every little bit helps, and we couldn't do it without them. We're a small team of 3, so we need the help.
Now let's get into the Crossing for Cystic Fibrosis. This is an amazing event. 80 miles across the open ocean, Bimini to Lake Worth Beach. And the thing is, I want to hear from you because you've done it.
I have, yes.
What is that like?
I did it as a relay team, so I want to give a lot of credit to the people who do it the full 80 miles themselves. We call those people Crossing Iron Crusaders. They do 80 miles beach to beach without touching the boat. The boat support's there. I did it as a relay team with my husband, so that means we took turns on the paddleboard. Each of us did about 20 minutes paddling, and then we'd jump on the boat and the other person would paddle. We did it in about almost 16 hours. So you leave middle of the night, paddle through, you watch the sunrise, and you paddle across the Gulf Stream to Lake Worth Beach.
Let's promote it. What's the experience like to actually do it?
It's honestly the most life-changing, most challenging, most majestic experience you could ever have, because you're really pushing your boundaries and your limits for something bigger than yourself. So you can do an extreme sport and you can go run a marathon, but if it's really making a difference, then I think that makes it more remarkable.
All of your work, I'm sure there are so many personal stories. If you could, in the time we have, can you share a personal memory or story that sticks with you that you like to share with people to have them understand what this is all about?
So I think it's a really great grassroots story because we are truly grassroots at heart. We're going on 8 years. We're becoming one of the most impactful grassroots foundations in the world for cystic fibrosis. But it was a boy named Jack. It was his 13th birthday coming up, and he unfortunately wasn't going to live very long past his birthday. He loved Star Wars. So we put the word out into our community asking our board of directors, everyone we knew, if they had any connections to Star Wars, to the stars in Star Wars, to Hollywood actors. And it's not allowed to be shared, but we actually got a video with the A-list actors from the Star Wars movies sent to Jack for his 13th birthday, and they were able to show him before he passed away, which was truly amazing.
Well, the work you do is beautiful, and it's such a worthy cause. Tatiana Timms, I appreciate so much you sharing just a little bit of what your work is like. We have much more to talk about, but thanks for going on the record today.
Thank you so much for having us.
Well, next, a Piper's Angels board member shares what moved her to help CF families. Welcome back. We're joined now by Vanessa Callis, the president of the board of directors for the Piper's Angels Foundation. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much.
Let's talk more about your connection. How did you first get involved?
Well, I don't have a personal connection to cystic fibrosis. I actually met Travis, who you also spoke with, through a mutual friend a couple years ago. It was back in 2017. It was the first year that they were going to be doing the Crossing as a fundraising event.
The first year, you were there for the first year?
I was there for the first year, 2017. I just met him, and he told me he was going to do this, and I really love the ocean. I really love boats. And I said, can I go? And he said, yeah. And that was it. And now here I am.
Look at you now. See what you got yourself into.
Yeah.
What does being part of this mean to you personally? I understand maybe not a personal connection as far as CF affecting your family, but what does it mean to your heart to be part of that?
It is really an incredible community and an incredible organization. I think that the impact that Piper's Angels creates is truly profound. It's very life-changing. The people I've met, people with CF and people without, have become good friends of mine. And I think it's a blessing. You know, I kind of fell into it, but really it has been extremely rewarding and a beautiful way to get involved and to give back to my community.
There's so many passionate volunteers. I know you volunteer your time for this as well. You know, to keep this all going, what's it like to be part of that operation? Because as we just heard from Tatiana, it's a small foundation. It's not as if there is a giant team to make this happen.
It takes an army.
So it must be a lot of work, but it must be rewarding too.
Yeah, no, as someone who volunteers a lot with Piper's Angels, I give a lot of time to the organization. Fully volunteer basis I have since 2017. And I am still amazed at how hard our volunteers work and how much their heart is in it. Yeah, it's beautiful to see, and I'm glad that I can be a part of it.
I can tell by you talking about it that it's in your heart too. Like you feel very strongly about it.
I do, yeah. Yeah.
Can you talk about making a difference? Do you think you're making a difference every day and being part of this?
Yes, I can confidently say.
Tell me how. Some of
Well,
it may just be awareness, I would think.
yeah, some of it is awareness. It has been very interesting to see the evolution in a way of the disease itself, how it's changed. When I joined in 2017, there were none of the life-saving drugs that we have now. So in a way, the mission itself has evolved. It's been fascinating to kind of see that, also to see the people who live with CF, and when I met them, you know, almost 10 years ago now, they were living very different lives. They were less healthy, now they're much healthier. But now we see ourselves kind of pushing beyond our nation's borders into other countries that are less fortunate, don't have so much access to the medicine. And we kind of get to spearhead that in a way, which is really cool and I think really special. Because not only do we affect our local community here in Palm Beach County, not only are we helping CF families in the US, we're now also pushing beyond into other countries.
As a volunteer, as president of the board, do you find yourself still explaining what CF is to people at this point? I know that a lot of people have heard about it since they were kids or even earlier. What they hear the term, the disease cystic fibrosis, but they may not really understand what this is all about.
Yeah, all the time. And as long as I've been involved, I'm still no expert.
Sure.
I usually, I kind of do my best in explaining, but, I don't have a personal family connection. I wasn't raised with among the disease. So I usually point them towards Travis if they really want more information.
And Travis can deliver, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
What would you
seen
tell
it.
somebody who'd like to get involved in this mission?
I would say do it.
How do they go about doing that if they want to be part of it?
Yeah, so you can go to pipersangels.org. You can go to crossing4cf.com. Both places, there's a Get Involved tab. You hit volunteer. We always need volunteers here. We need volunteers in Bimini for the crossing. We need boat captains. And we always need donations to help run our programs.
All right, let's talk about the crossing before we go, because I do want to talk to everybody about this. It seems like such a challenge. Now, Tatiana admitted she did it in a relay fashion, which I think she gets full credit for it. But what was it like for you to actually do this? And do you do it each year, or do you say, like, I've done it, I'm one and done? How does this work?
So I started as a crew volunteer.
Okay.
So I sat on the boat and I watch our paddler and I take care of them. I feed them. I make sure that they have water. I just keep an eye on them in general. 2019, I attempted the crossing, and I say attempted because I also will not claim to have fully done it.
Okay.
I was also on a relay team. I was fortunate enough to be on a team with someone who lives with CF who has become a very good friend of mine. His name is Ben Mudge. And he was very motivating, and he's a coach and a fitness influencer in his own right. But I was like, just sit me on the boat. That's the place for me.
Well, let's give you credit for being part of it. Absolutely. Vanessa Callis, president of the board for Piper's Foundation. Thank you so much
Thank you so much.
for being here. On the Record, we'll be right back. Thank you, as always, for making us part of your morning. And as always, we encourage you to be part of our discussion each and every Sunday. We're always right here at 10 a.m. Until then, you can watch this morning's On the Record program and every episode anytime on our website, WPBF.com. All the shows are also on our free WPBF 25 news app. Matter of Fact with Soledad O'Brien is next. We hope you have a great day. We'll see you again next Sunday.